Hello Year 1 and welcome to today's Maths Learning. It is the 3rd of February 2020. So your recap is your number bonds to 10. If you want to move on to the number bonds to 20 then please do. Again, it's just a recap of learning you already have been taught and seeing if you can remember and secure that. So what are number bonds, how do they help us, and what are the number bonds to 10? You can answer these questions for the number bonds to 20 as well. And that will support you with your learning today as well, and you'll understand that a bit more soon. So we are going to look at our calendar. So what day is it today? What day was it yesterday? And what day will it be tomorrow? You know the routine now. And then again, the same with the months of the year. So what we are learning to do today, we are learning to add by making 10. Okay, so how can we be successful? So this is where your number bonds come in, your number bonds to 10, because you are going to be bridging to 10 and then counting on. Okay, so that's really important. So to be able to make 10, we need to have a really good understanding of our number bonds to 10. We did do our number bonds to 20 the other day, so that will support you as well. But just the 10 is what we're focusing on today. So can you remember from yesterday, what do you know about adding and what ways can we add? So thinking back to this week, what we've learned so far, can you remember or talk about what you already know? So what can you use to help you? Again, there's some ideas there. And there's some ideas there, objects that you might have lying around your house. And like I said before, you don't have to use these ones. These are just suggestions. So get creative and use what you can. So again, we are learning to add by making 10. So how can we add two numbers together? How can you add the two groups? And how can you work it out? So we're going to talk through those methods together. So we've got an example question here. Just bear with me. Here. So we've got 7 add 4 is the same as. So what does that equal? So here it says have to show me how to work this out using your tens frame. So I've attached those as a document, so you can use those to support you. You can either use counters or whatever you've got at home and place those into the squares, or you can draw the counter straight onto the squares. It's whatever best suits you. Okay, like we said, be creative. So 7 add 4, show me how to work this out using your tens frame. So I'm going to show you what the best way to do that is. So on here, okay, I would add on my 7, 2, 3. Remember, pause if you need more time to work it out before I show you. 5, 6, 7. And then I have my 4, which originally I would have my 4. That would be my second group. Okay, I've got my group, my 7, my red, and then I've got my 4, my other number. So the way to then we can add by making 10 is by moving some of those counters up to fill the top tens frame to make that 10, because that whole frame equals 10. So I'm just going to move. So I've not changed the number, but I've just moved it around so it's easier to see and easier to count. So that way I can now see that I've got 10 at the top and I need to count on one more. So 10, 11. So that gives me the number 11. Okay, so 7 add 4 is 11. And then you can write your number 11 in there. And a way to help you and support you with that is you can partition this number, which we've done a little bit of partition with numbers. So you just split 4. So you split the 4 to show that 3 here is what you added to your 7 to make 10. So these two, do my best with my pen. So these two numbers make 10. And then what is left out of that number? I've taken 3 away to make 10. Okay, so there's the 3 there to make 10, and it's left me with 1. So I partitioned my 4 into 3 and 1, because my 3 I've used to make my 10, and then I've been left with 1 more. Okay, I know it's a really hard concept. It's a lot easier when you're manipulating it, which is why it's really important that you use some practical objects to support you with this. And for further support, there is a video here, which if you go onto PowerPoint and you click on that, box, it will open up a video where there's somebody talking through it as well visually for you. There is some more then for you to attempt. Okay, so we can do a few more of those together. So 8 add 4 is the same as, so again, I count out my 8 counters. Sorry guys, do bear with me. There we go, 8. So I've got my 8, and now I need to count out my other group. So my other number is 4, so I need to represent that 4 now in this other tens frame. You can always start filling in your 4 straight away if you like. I just think this way you can see the two numbers and how you move them over. So you've got your 8 and you've got your 4. Now, to make this 10, I need to partition this number 4. So I've partitioned that number 4, okay, into a 2 and another 2. So I've got a 2 and I've got another 2. Okay, and the 8 and the 2 make 10. And then the 2 is what I'm left over with, okay? So I can count on. So what I can do is count on, I know that the 10 there is a tens frame. If it's filled, that means there is 10. So I can count on 10, 11, 12. So your answer is 12 because these two numbers here make 10. 2 more is 12, okay? Now, there is one more question here, but I don't want to do too many, so I want you to have a try. And then there is, again, you can use your dice from yesterday that you created to create your own number sentences, or you can make your own as well. That's absolutely fine. But remember, we're still looking at those single-digit numbers, okay, to bridge 10 today. So just single-digit numbers. A 1 digit and a 1 digit. So moving on from yesterday's learning, okay? So your biggest numbers you can add together are your 9 and your 9, okay? So you can complete any of the following activities. As I mentioned before, you can use a tens frame practically. So have those out or cut up and then use objects and physically move them around, which is a really good way to do it. You can record on a tens frame in your book. So your size books or your paper that you're recording on, you can draw your own, or you can print them out and stick them in and then use coloured pencils to show the two numbers, like a red and a yellow, or two colours. It doesn't matter as long as you've got those two colours to see the different numbers. You might want to do it practically first and then record it in your book once you've done it practically. That's a really good way to visualise it first, have a try, manipulate those counters or those objects, and then record it. The next step for your fly high, I'm going to talk you through now. Okay, so your fly high is about using a number line to bridge and to create your own number sentences. So your fly high challenge here, can you count on from 10? So like I said, it's about holding that big number in your head, which, well, it should be your 10 every time, and then counting on from 10, because we are adding by making 10. And then it's thinking about how you can partition that second number. Okay, so I've got a little image here that I've snipped in for you. You've got your 8 add 3, which equals 11. And as we spoke about before, okay, you've got your 8 in one colour, your 3 in another to show those two different numbers that you're adding together. And then you've partitioned that number 3. So what needs to go with 8 to make 10? So out of that number, it's 2. So 8 and 2 has made my 10, which you can see at the top there. You can see the red, there's 8. And then you can see 2 yellow, so 8 and 2 make 10. Then you need to think what is left in the number 3, because you've taken 2 out, which leaves you the number 1. So this number here, the 8 and the 2, that makes your 10. Oh, excuse me, guys, sorry. That makes your 10, which then you need to do your 10 add 1. So you can write that in a number sentence in your steps if that makes it easier for you, which I can show you that as well. So you can do your 8 add your 2 equals your 10. Let me just move that over. Okay, so you've got your 8 and 2, which makes your 10. And then you do your 10 and add your remaining 1, which should give you the answer 11. Okay, so even though your number 10, it starts as 8, add 3 equals 11, you're making that 10. So once you've got that 10, your 8 add 2 to make your 10, then you do your 10 add 1, which is left. I know that's a lot, but that's why it's a fly high, because it is a real big challenge to really challenge your thinking. And as I mentioned before, there's a really good video up here, if you click on that, where there's a girl that talks through how to do that, and it's very visual, and she writes out as she goes along, which is really good. So that's really good to look at to support you with this particular way of working the question out and with the number sentences. Okay. So using a number line to bridge. So you can use your partitioning in exactly the same way, and I'll show you how that looks on the number line. Okay, so again, you're just bridging with 10 and then showing that on your number line. So if you've got 8 add 3, using the same numbers just so it's a bit easier to see, you would partition your number 3 into 2 smaller numbers. That's what partitioning means. Okay, so you need to think what goes with 8 to make 10. Hopefully you remembered. Or know your number bonds. That's why it's really important that you practice your number bonds at the beginning of that retrieval, because that will support you with this learning today. So your 8 and your 2 make your 10, which you can write that out. 8 add 2 equals, excuse me, it's really hard to use this pen. And then you need to think what is left out of that. So there should be a remainder or a remainder of the number 1 left. Okay, so then you do your 10 and you're adding 1. So 10, which is probably a bit easier with the small numbers a bit smaller like this, but as they get bigger, that's a really good skill to use and apply to bigger numbers. So on a number line, that is how you're going to represent it. So I'm just going to get different colours so it's a bit more visual. So 8 add 3. We find our number 8, and instead of doing 3 individual jumps, which you can do, but however, the learning is add by making 10. That's not making 10. So doing 1 jumps, we need to think about our number bonds, use our number bond knowledge to bridge, okay? So all that means is we jump straight from the number 8 to the number 10. So that's 2 jumps. So we go from 8, but we don't do the 2 individual jumps, we do it as 1 big jump to 10, like this, okay? So I've added 2, and you can write that if that helps you at the top. So I've added 2, and then I need to add 1 more. So I've added 2, and then I've added 1 more. So this is really good to draw and show your partitioning, because it helps you with your bridging and your recording on your number line. So you've added your 2, and I know that I now need to add 1 more. Okay, so I add my 1 more. And again, you can write that on there. I'm doing my very best, so it's nice and clear. And then you can circle your answer. Again, this is linking to your adding 2 single-digit numbers from yesterday and using those methods. It's just a step up, okay? It's moving your learning on and building on that. So applying your number bonds to bridge, okay? Using your number bonds to add and make 10, okay? So there you go, and that's how you can represent it that way. Now, you can keep to the tens frames if you feel you're more comfortable with that way, then please use that. And you can also use the number line again if you feel you need to use that. Again, I will attach those documents to support you of the number lines and the tens frames to support that learning today. Okay, and then as always, a problem-solving question to just challenge your thinking, check your understanding, and there is going to be a quiz on the Sway today for maths for your learning for this week. So the adding, okay, some questions on some adding to, again, just check your understanding, challenge your thinking, challenge you a little bit more. And then, as always, you're learning with us on the parent support email. If you have any questions, you can ask us through that as well. Enjoy your learning. I look forward to seeing it.